than yesterday. So I think my body is getting more adjusting to the new time zone. So anyway, and maybe the coolness maybe also. Again, we will start like yesterday. Make yourself relaxed, comfortable. And feel the weight of your body on cushions. And try to let go of any thoughts of the past, futures. By focusing your mind on the breath as you inhale and exhale naturally, watching it mindfully and being aware of that. Once your mind has been settled down, quiet in moment, present, then we can try to reflect, contemplate, and feel how fortunate and lucky I am to have this incredible, precious human life with so much potential. And how fortunate and lucky, even more so, to wake up today and to be alive and to have this opportunity to come here to listen and to practice. Within this year, this month, this week, within this last 24 hours, so many of other people have passed away, left the world, they are no more here. Catherine just sent a message saying that one of her friends just passed away. So many people within these 12 hours, less than 12 hours, pass away suddenly. And we could have also passed away suddenly due to anything, any causes. Fortunately, luckily, we are still alive, still here. But that does not guarantee that we will live for next 30 years, 40 years, or even next 10 years, or even next 5 years, 1 year, 1 month, or even up to this week. We cannot predict. Anything can happen. We would like to believe that we have a lot of time. But the fact and reality that we don't know whether we have few hours or many years. Therefore, I must not waste whatever time I have in my life and make it more use whatever time I have, many years, 1 year or few months, days, use it for, make it meaningful. And the way to make meaningful is to practice the Dharma as much as possible. Therefore, from now on, I will try to, as much as I can, give more effort, more time, more energy to practice the Dharma, to integrate the Dharma into everyday life as much as possible. And I'm going to practice the Dharma so that I can improve myself, become more compassionate, wise, more enlightened, so I can be more help, benefit to more sentient beings. In order to help to liberate all sentient beings from all their suffering and cause of suffering permanently, and to help all sentient beings to achieve not only temporary happiness, but true, lasting, ultimate happiness of fully awakened state. I must achieve fully awakened state myself. In order to achieve that fully awakened state, I must practice the Dharma. And to practice Dharma, I need to be reminded of that. Therefore, I'm going to listen to the talk so that we get reminded, inspired, encouraged to continue to practice the Dharma. And for the success of our practice of Dharma, we need all the health and the blessings of all the gurus, Buddhas, all the holy beings. So we can visualize our root guru in the form of Buddha Shakyamuni, and with his heart, on top of moon disc, Hung syllable surrounded by Buddha Shakyamuni mantra. In essence, which are enlightened, compassionate wisdom. And as we recite the mantras from the garlands of mantra and Hung syllables, white light nectar flow into oneself, cleanse, purify all the illness, all the negative karma, all the delusion, obscuration completely, all the obstacles for the success of the practice of Dharma being completely cleansed, purified. Ayatha Om Mone Mone Ayata o mone mone ma monae so. Ayata o mone mone ma monae so. And then we visualize more light nectar in the form of yellow orange flow into oneself, feeling our whole body, receiving all the blessings of enlightened body, speech, mind, all the spiritual realizations. And then Guru Buddha Shakyamuni dissolve in the light dissolve into yourself. And our more subtle body, speech, and mind, and the Guru and the Buddha's body, speech, and mind all become one, inseparable. Okay, so then we do the refuge in Bodhicitta. I take refuge until I'm enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly by merit of listening to the Dharma. May I become a Buddha to benefit transmigrated beings. Sangye chodan soge chonam la chanchu pato dane kapso che dagi zhenyen gibe sonam ge dola penje sangye duba sho Sangye chodan soge chonam la chanchu pato dane kapso che dagi zhenyen gibe sonam ge dola penje sangye duba. Short mandala. So shi be ge chun shi me to dhamma re ra li shi Nyen dengen bali sangye sento miete o Itam Guru Rana Matala Kandiyataya. So we started yesterday by discussing on six paramita, the first three paramita, and in six we talk about the first paramita of generosity, that is mainly transforming your own, wealth, your knowledge, especially Dharma knowledge, and your virtues and your own body to whatever, transform into whatever needs of different sentient beings, and to be able to give and share without any attachment and without any expectations, or without any condition expectations. And then we also spoke about the parameter of moral disciplines, mm, by restraining, reframing um, the selfish attitude, and by cultivating cherishing thought for others, sense of concern for the well-being of others, then we try to avoid any kind of actions to the body, speech, and mind that brings any kind of harm, hurt, pain, and suffering to other sentient beings. And not only that, then we also try to, on the basis of that, we try to um, gain and actualize more and more virtues that we have not already actualized, and those who have already actualized, trying to improve, increase, and on the basis of having cultivated those virtues and increase those virtues, and then we try to, help and benefit other sentient beings in whatever way that we can be helpful, in whatever their needs are, and whatever we can be helped to reduce and relieve their pain and sufferings. Then thirdly, we also discuss about the parameter of patience in terms of cultivating patience in regard to harm that is inflicted by others. When others harm us, instead of getting angry and upset and respond to anger and upset, instead, we try to keep our mind calm, peaceful, undisturbed by their such harmful actions, behavior, attitude, and if possible, instead trying to be help and benefit. Even if we cannot help and benefit, at least we try to not train our mind not to get disturbed and agitated by those different negative emotions such as anger and so forth. So training to do that. And also we also spoke about, whenever we face any kind of challenges, difficulties, obstacles, problems, pain, suffering in our life, at different stages of our life, again, instead of being frustrated with all of them, being upset and angry, either towards oneself or to the situation itself, or the experience itself, again, we learn and train our mind, not to be agitated and disturbed by frustration and so forth, by seeing all of these situations, experience as something positive, as something helpful, beneficial, especially in our spiritual growth, our spiritual development, by seeing that, and so learning to be fine and okay with that and not being disturbed, agitated. So, and also we also spoke about, having patience in engaging our practice Dharma, engage in virtues and so forth. So those are the kind of first three parameters that we spoke yesterday. And today we come to the fourth parameter, the parameter of enthusiasm or perseverance. So again, not all enthusiasm or perseverance are the perseverance of parameter, the fourth one. Okay. Because sometimes we can have perseverance or enthusiasm into something negative, something non-virtuous. And that is not the paramita of perseverance. You know, not only we can have a perseverance and enthusiasm in non-virtues, sometimes we can have perseverance and enthusiasm in something more, ordinary, um, even it's not non-virtues, but it's more neutral actions, activities. Even that kind of enthusiasm or that kind of perseverance is not the perseverance we are talking about, the paramita perseverance. As Shandeva mentioned, the perseverance, the paramita perseverance or enthusiasm is having the perseverance, enthusiasm in virtues. The object has to be virtues to be the paramita of the enthusiasm or perseverance, So the perseverance should be, the object of perseverance should be something virtuous. And not only perseverance, sometimes enthusiasm better word, because there need to be joy in that perseverance. Therefore, sometimes you see different, joyful effort or joyful perseverance. I guess when you say enthusiasm, maybe there's a little bit kind of joyfulness, I guess. So, but the object has to be virtuous, and whatever effort and perseverance you put towards that there is some kind of joyfulness in that, and that is the so this to be a parameter of perseverance, those qualities need to come to has to be there. Mm. Mm. And when you have patience towards your practice, towards the virtues, when you have developed a strong patience towards the virtues or towards your practice, where you don't easily kind of, give up because of being impatient, then that helps us to develop perseverance, and with that perseverance, then it helps us to develop the next um, parameter, material concentrations, and so again, and in developing perseverance or the joyfulness in the virtues, as Shanteva explained, need to overcome the obstacles, the opposings, to have that kind of joyful effort or perseverance, and together the supporting conducive condition that can help to have a joyful perseverance or effort in the virtues. And the opposing or the obstacles are, laziness is one, especially, uh, laziness, and especially the laziness of keep on postponing, you know. Mm. And that is one of the obstacles towards having that kind of joyful perseverance. And so to overcome that kind of laziness, then meditating on as we mentioned on a Friday, meditation on impermanent, and especially dead impermanent, can be helpful. That we don't keep on postponing and being lazy. That feeling, oh, I don't feel like I want to do today or next week, and keep on postponing. When you have this through meditation on dead impermanent, and when you have this kind of feelings or awareness, there's no time, you know the time does not wait for you, the time does not wait for you. And so therefore, I must practice now, and so through that, that is how we overcome the laziness, especially that postponing. The other is, being distracted to another obstacles to have that kind of enthusiasm in our virtues is, being distracted to worldly things, worldly pleasures, worldly activities, worldly things, you know. And again, to overcome that, then we need to meditate, essenceless of those, there's no real meaning, there's no real essence in all of that, all of these activities, all of this kind of samsaric enjoyment, that it doesn't really give you true lasting happiness. It doesn't really help you, it doesn't really help others. And through that kind of, understanding, then we get less attached to them. And when we get less attached to them, then we get less distracted towards them. And when we get less distracted to them, then we will have more enthusiasm in our virtues. A lot of time we get distracted with them, and then we cannot find energy and the time for the virtues. Because we get so distracted with all these things, it's hard to find time for the virtues and the Dharma practice. And even when we are able to find some time, even when we are able to manage some time to the virtues and to a practice, we don't have the energy because we exhausted ourselves with other things. And then, again, we cannot concentrate, we cannot fully, sometimes like, people come to the meditation practice, teaching, but they fall asleep because they're exhausted from other things. So they have the intention to come there because they want to something, virtue something, but then their body is so exhausted, they cannot keep. And so this is because, and so then you don't have that kind of enthusiasm and the energy and that to do because, of that. And then, yeah. So those are some of the obstacles to develop kind of enthusiasm, joyful enthusiasm into virtues, and then we need to overcome them, and as well as we need to gather the conducive or supportive conditions that can help. And another one of other obstacles to the to develop that kind of enthusiasm and virtues is not having self-confidence. Not having self-confidence. Oh, I'm not good meditator, I'm not good practitioners. Not believing in yourself, not believing in your ability, not having confidence in yourself and your ability. Oh, I cannot meditate, I'm not a good meditator. I cannot practice, I'm not a good practitioner. And all of that, when you already self-defeated in that way, then of course it is hard to have that kind of enthusiasm in that, and that is another obstacles, and then in terms of the conducive condition gathering, conducive conditions, having the cultivating and developing, interest or strong interest or faith in the virtue itself, whatever practice virtues that you want. So to do that, then you have to contemplate, meditate more and more, the benefit of that practice, that virtues. The more you realize, the more you have awareness, the more you understand the benefit of such virtues, such practice, the more interest you have to develop that. The more joyfulness you have to develop that. And that gives you more joyfulness, more effort, more enthusiasm. And again, that is same in everything, So to do that, you have to meditate, contemplate more and more benefit of that practice, that virtues. And second is having a steady mind, and that is, self-confidence, And again, in order to have that steady mind of self-confidence, then you need to meditate on the Buddha nature, your own Buddha nature, especially, the Buddha has mentioned even the insect, they have the Buddha nature. Even the animal, such as insect, they have the Buddha nature, that they can achieve fully enlightenment. They have the potential to. So therefore, as a human beings, we have even more better conditions. Not only we have that potential, but we have better condition to actualize that conditions and that potentials. And therefore, if we put effort, definitely we can achieve. And if we can achieve enlightenment, then all other virtues are much more easier, require less effort. The most effort and the most difficult is to achieve fully enlightenment. And even that, if even that is possible, then of course, achieving, arhat become much more easier. Achieving bodhisattvas, path and bhumi become much more easier. And then, achieving certain spiritual realization become even more easier than that. And therefore, it becomes possible. It is possible, if we put the effort, And so again, with that meditation, trusting and believing and having confidence in yourself and your own potentials. And with that confidence, when you have that confidence that you can make it, then it gives you more enthusiasm. Like in everything, when you believe and have confidence you can do it, it gives you more enthusiasm in you in doing that. But when you don't believe that you can make it, then even you are trying to do, there is no enthusiasm, so much enthusiasm. Because your mind is, I'm not sure I can make it. Very simple, if you are trying to climb the mountains, a small example. When you think, oh, I cannot make it, then your energy already drop. Do you get it? When you think, in your mind, oh, I don't think I can make it. I cannot make it, or you started to not believe yourself, I might not be able to make it. Your energy already on mental level, physical level already drop. But when you have this, I can make it, I can do it, both on mental and physical level, it gives you more energy, And that is the same with our practice, meditation and virtues, So having this confidence that you can do it, that you can make it, help you to have that enthusiasm. And then other things, to have that kind of other supportive things towards our practice and virtues is cultivating a joyfulness. when you have joyfulness in doing something, you can do without getting tired for a long time. When you don't enjoy doing that, even half hour can be very tiring. Do you feel that way with anything? No. Yeah, definitely. With me, I can see it. You know, if you enjoy doing something, you can go on doing that for a long time without getting too tired. If you don't enjoy doing that, even very short time can be tiring. When we were young, we don't have too many vacations or holidays. Only a couple of days, 3 days during the New Year's, Tibetan New Year's, and other times, So we always look excited when it's. And so during those 3 days, sometimes, you go whole night, playing and still have all this energy, whole night, whole day, because it is something you enjoy, something you look forward to, something, and because normally, if you don't sleep, then during the daytime, you get exhausted. You don't have the energy, And this is very one small example of something like that. And same thing, if you enjoy your meditation, if you enjoy your practice, you can do many hours without feeling so exhausted. But if you don't enjoy doing it, then maybe even half hour, you can start to feel tired and exhausted. And therefore, joyfulness. And so, therefore, we have to find a way to bring joyfulness in our practice. And that is where we can be creative in our practice. If we find difficult finding joyful in your practice meditation, then you have to come up with some idea, be creative. How can I bring joyfulness with that creativity so that you started to enjoy the practice, meditation, whatever. Sometimes with that creative, you just have to change some of the meditation techniques a little bit here and there, adjust a little bit here and there without losing the essence of that practice, meditations. And you can have a different you could start it to, sometimes we don't find joy because sometimes we do the practice, but we cannot connect with the practice. And sometimes you adjust a little bit here and there, and then you started to, connect and make sense. And then, so again, sometimes you can be creative, in bringing joyfulness in whatever virtues practice meditations. So that is one, again, supporting factors for developing joyful perseverance is bringing that joyfulness in that. And then others is, kind of learning and training and learning how to relax and rest when you need it. And that is another important factors. If you learn how to relax and rest when you need it, it helps you to go long way. If you don't learn how to relax and rest, and you push yourself too much, then you burn out, or you get too exhausted, and then then you start to develop allergies towards practice, meditation, virtues. And it happens. Sometimes practitioners, they get excited, with certain practice, and then they push themselves, and then they don't know, or they don't take care of themselves, or they don't know how to rest and relax when they need it, and then sometimes they burn out and get exhausted. Sometimes both physically, mentally, sometimes mentally, sometimes physically. And then it can be a big obstacle in their practice. Then it takes a lot of effort and a lot of time for them to able to actually come back and again restart practice. So that is, kind of balancing, when you are lazy, knowing that we are lazy, and then we need to push ourselves a little bit so that we don't become lazy. But sometimes our body and mind need a rest and relax, and knowing that, and then when you need that, knowing how to relax and rest and not push yourself, and finding those balance can help you go long way. Otherwise, you are excited and push yourself so much, and then there's a break, the obstacles, the breakdown, you can have breakdown. Especially it is said when we do practice meditations, one of the advice is the best to stop your practice meditations while you are enjoying it. While you are enjoying it. If you stop while you are enjoying it, the next sessions, whether it's the next session or tomorrow, whatever that is, then you have memory of nice practice, nice meditations, nice virtues. It inspires you, it gives you kind of, but even when you enjoy and you don't stop and you keep on going, and then you start to become tired, exhausted, and you stop there. Next sessions, when you think of the practice meditation, you remember that exhaustion, that tiredness. It doesn't inspire you. It doesn't give you enthusiasm to do the practice meditations. And those are the key, some of the advice, key importance. That is, and that is when we do retreat, the advice, they say, that it should be like what do you call barley, barley in the middle is a big, and then the two sides small, and so it says when you start the retreat, if you are doing retreat for whatever, weeks, months, years, you start slowly, less sessions, shorter sessions, and you start slowly build up, longer sessions, more sessions. And then in the middle of the retreat, that is where you do more sessions, longer sessions, and so forth. And then again, as you are coming down, again, you start to reduce the level of session, or shorter sessions and shorter and less sessions. And you end with that. So it's less tiring, So when you end with that, with less sessions and less longer sessions, your body and mind doesn't get so tired. And so then that helps you in the next time when you're planning a retreat, you have memory of good experience. It inspires you, it gives you encouragement or enthusiasm. Otherwise, as mentioned, so that is where one of the supporting factor is, as Shantideva explained, knowing when, and then when you need it, needing to you apply how to rest, relax, and that. And so with that 4 supporting conditions, and then overcoming those 3 obstacles, then you can develop joyful perseverance and effort in your virtues. So that is more or less a little bit about the joyful perseverance. Okay. Any questions? Comment? Any questions regarding that? Yes, please.
So with working to become creative with practices when they start to feel sort of flat or throat not full, do you have some suggestions?
Well, I guess sometimes we have to understand, probably we have to understand, um, because there could be different reason why someone fall in that flight, not everyone might have same reason why they fall in flight, uh, sometimes at a certain time due to your physical um, conditions, you know it happens. Sometimes someone's going through a lot of things in their mind that can affect them, where their practice started to kind of flatten. For some, maybe they got so distracted with other things, and so, like everything, when you keep on doing it, and because continuity, because you have familiarity, and because you continuity uh, become more easier to do. And when you stop, you know one day, and then it become 1 week, 1 month, and to restart is difficult. Just like you are trying to do with fitness exercise, it's the same thing. Or trying to do with sometimes with diet. When you are doing continually, it seems easier. It's something. But then you stop for a certain period, then it's much more difficult to restart. And that becomes same with the practice meditations. Sometimes we get unable to continue to do because for different reasons, and then it's hard to get back. It takes a lot of effort and a lot of energy to get back to that rhythms of doing that. And so it can be different reasons, sometimes. um, and one of the things that I like to you know um, share is, even when you are very busy, even when we feel tired and all of that, still, is important to keep your practice, you know on shoulders. Maybe when you are too tired or when you are too busy, maybe we might not be able to do the longer versions of that practice on the whole fully, but you still continue to do the practice a little bit, even a shorter version, even though it is without all the even we cannot do fully good, not, but just, and so in that way, that is how you discipline and keep on doing that. Otherwise, we kind of have interruptions, and when there is interruption, then it is hard to again get back. It takes time and a lot of energy, and so, that is one thing, to have continuity. Sometime when you have more time, when you have more energy, we can do more longer version, more better. And some when you are less, then even in that, at least you do the practice, even if you shorter versions, and even you cannot do everything, visualization, everything as correctly, or as it as normally you might do, shortening a little bit and still continue to do practice. So I think those are the certain things, you know um, and then when we started doing it, then again, because of the because it is something that you have been continually doing, then it doesn't feel like you are giving more extra time, more extra energies. It is easy. But when we are not consistent and continued it, then it feel like I need to give more time, more energy. So it this this feeling I have to give more energy, more time, make you even a little bit kind of unenjoyable, a little bit kind of, you know, almost like burden to some extent. I have to do the practice, I have to do the meditations, and it feel like another one more things to do instead of feeling this is kind of a routine in my life. It's not something that I'm doing extra, but it's so there is that. So continuity, I think, help uh, um, in that. And then, in certain practice meditations, you know, you just have to figure out, and you know, and you have to find out. Sometimes, like for example, when in a retreat and many sessions, and when you are constantly, whether doing analytical meditations or a lot of visualizations, and when your mind get kind of a little bit tired because your mind has been so active, 4 sessions, each session hour and a half, sometimes your mind can be a little bit tired because of so active, you know whether it's a different visualization or whether it's a different analytical meditations. It's constantly kind of. And then, sometimes in those cases, then I find a way to relax my mind when I feel like that my mind is getting a little bit kind of tired. And you find a way to relax in a different way. Like, for example, sometimes, I just simply focus on the sound of the mantra that I'm reciting if I'm doing the mantra. So then I don't have, my mind is not active. Just focusing. I'm just doing the mantra, but I'm just focusing on the sound of the mantras, and that helped me to relax my mind, to relax. And then your mind is relaxed, also your body also feel more relaxed. Sometimes just listening to the sound and just being aware of sound and just focusing on that sound, and that's a way of resting your mind. Or sometimes just resting on the nature of your mind without doing the analytical, you know uh, too much analytical, um, just focusing on that, you know so like those, sometimes, so you just figure out, um, because if your mind is kind of tired, then again, you don't enjoy. And so therefore you need to kind of learn to rest. And how can you rest, how can you relax your mind? And so, you find certain way within the practice, certain way to kind of rest, without being too active. And that can also help. And then, sometimes certain visualization, sometimes we might have certain difficulties, or sometimes difficult to connect with certain visualization. And again, you just have to find a slightly different way of doing it, you know um, for example, I don't know if I share it should, in in many of the teachings, when they describe about, cleansing, purifying, all the illness in the form of um, gas, blood, all the spiritual harm in the form of scorpion, black bear, and so forth, and then in all the delusions, negative karma in the form of, dark, kind of liquid and like that, I struggle and difficult when I try to visualize, whatever spirit harm or whatever in the form of scorpion and bear coming from your body. It's hard to imagine and hard to think of that. And when you struggle, then of course you don't enjoy your practice because you are struggling with that. So then I started to, instead of that, I started to think of in the form of, unwanted bacteria or cell, And then the point is, it is just, that is the that give only one example of that scoping and that, but it doesn't has to be that image or that visualization. The main is that. And so once I started to change a little bit, then I struggle less. When I struggle less, I enjoy the practice more. You know. And also, like with the Tonglen practice, I also had a little bit in some of the explanations or the practice or commentaries, they talk about, or they, your selfish attitude at your heart, and as you breathe in, and then kind of exploding, again, sometimes I have a little difficult. It's like rock, your selfish attitude, and exploding it is like, you put explosion and exploding it, again, this struggle a little bit. So I just changed, I just started to visualize, kind of dark, very, very dark, uh, eyes. And with that, when you visualize the warm, dark energy, it melts that selfish attitude in the form of that eyes, And then again, that help. So like that, I try to find something when I struggles with sudden visualization, uh, as is described in certain um, commentaries, certain teachings, And when you struggles, then it's hard, and so then you have to find a way, slightly different way that you can connect, that you have less struggles, and then you started to enjoy that much because you have less struggle with that, because you can. So these are just some few examples that I can kind of share that helped me myself. But yeah. Any others? Yes, please.
So we talked about self-confidence, and so what if one has a little bit of a perfectionist mindset, or like a critical, judgmental, that also can dampen the joy. If you beat yourself a little bit
Yes.
up, like you just don't go right, or you don't do it right, or you don't do enough.
Yes.
How could you?
Yeah, I think that seems to be one of the big problem for the Westerners. Uh, uh, I don't know all the Easterners, but the Tibetans or Nepalis in the past, maybe they are also changing, uh, are so laid back. The mentality is so laid back, so they don't push themselves so much. And like many of including myself, and many, with me. Or even I don't get any realization that I'm okay. At least I have the imprint. It is by trying and practicing and continuing. At least I have the imprint. So at least I can continue, and in next life it can be easier. Whereas for the Western, I have to achieve. I have to develop these realizations, in this life, and achieve. And so it is also maybe culturally, maybe there is a little bit of there is a little bit of that too, of course, both could have could be extreme as well. So you have to find more kind of balance, one can be too laid back and not push a little bit when they can push a little bit, and then others can be pushing too much and to other limits. And I think finding the right balance is the key, which Buddha advises always, that, the middle way, the right balance. Mm. So I think, mm, in that way, I think one had to contemplate, meditate. It's okay to make a mistake. It's okay to, you don't consciously make a mistake. You consciously try not to make a mistake. You consciously try to be perfect. And but at the same time, in your mind, you are aware and prepared and know it's okay to be imperfect. It's okay to make mistakes. And accepting who we are. I'm not a Buddha. I'm just a ordinary beings who have this, interest in this practice and who want to be perfect, who want to be enlightened, but not there at the moment. And so as a ordinary persons and practitioner, we are going to make a mistake. And that making mistake, from that is how we learn. And is part of process of learning, is part of process of developing. Making the mistake is a part of improving, is part of progressing, is part of developing. It's not an obstacle for developing. It's not an obstacle for being better, but it's a part of that process. It's part of that, And then aware of that, I think it's important. And, especially, knowing even the bodhisattvas make mistakes. So who am I to expect myself not to make a mistake when bodhisattvas make mistake? If there is anyone who doesn't make mistake, it is only Buddha, fully enlightened one. Even the highly realized bodhisattva can make mistake. Because again, they are also imperfect. They are much more better than others. Even with the bodhisattvas, there are different levels, and as your level get higher and higher, as you improve, you make less and less mistake. But still, until you become Buddha, there's still some mistake because you are not fully enlightened. And so, if even those, our role models, which we inspire, the Arya Sanghas, whether it's bodhisattvas, whether it's, those who are on the path to arhat, even those Arya who have developed, wisdom realizing emptiness directly, and bodhicitta, even if they can make mistakes, even if they are not perfect, it's unrealistic for me to expect me to be perfect and not make mistake. Is not possible. It's unrealistic. You are expecting something which is imperfect to be perfect. And so therefore, I think through such kind of contemplations and meditations and analysis, mentally, being is okay. It's okay to be imperfect. It's okay to make mistake at this point. Of course, we want to make less and less mistake. We want to be more and more perfect, and that's we try, but at the same time, it's okay, and it is going to happen. It is going to happen, because it's like a child trying to learn how to walk. They are going to fall and get up, fall and come. You don't expect them to walk without falling from the very beginning. It's not possible, as a human child. Maybe with some animals, probably you might see some of them started walking. But as a human being's child, when you are learning to walk, you fall, and that is okay, that's part of learning, that is part of growing. And I think so, yeah, that um, so maybe we can have a 15 minutes of break. So you want to grab some tea, some water, use the restroom, then yeah, 11:30, 15 minutes. So then we come to the fourth parameter, the parameter of material concentrations. Mm. So the fifth parameter, the material concentration or shamatha, karma abiding, uh, is important inner qualities or realizations that uh, that one need to develop in order to develop the you know the the sixth parameter, the uh, special insight, and also in order to, as Shanteva explains, Adisha explains, and all others, without material concentrations, even you work very hard, even you try to practice and put a lot of effort, it's hard to get a good result, because even though you put so much effort, but a lot of time your mind is distracted. Your mind is distracted, your mind not fully there in whatever practice you do. So then it's much more harder to have the result that we wish to have in regard to any kind of practice. On the other hand, if we have meditative concentrations and when we practice, because your mind is fully there with the practice, then you can develop the realization much more quickly, easily, much more quickly. You know, and in order to, we'll come later, in order to, get rid of all the delusions, permanently from the very root of it, we need the wisdom realizing emptiness and the special insight. And in order to have the special insight, wisdom realizing emptiness, without a karma abiding shamatha, there's no way to develop that. So we need both the meditative concentration or karma abiding as well as the wisdom. So there are certain different examples that you see in the scriptures. One example they give is, if you're trying to look for pictures or painting in the wall, in the dark, to see it clearly, in the dark you need the light. Of course, in the old time, they use example of candle. Not only you need the candles to see the clear, the painting in the wall, but you also need that candle, which is what you call stable, unmoving. If the candle is by the wind is moving too much, then again you cannot see clearly. You need the candle, but also that candle not moving, stable. So that light, candle light, is the wisdom, and then the light that is unmoved by the wind is the karma abiding shamatha or meditative concentration. You need both of them. Some other example they use, when you use, what was to cut the wood, axe, you need a very sharp axe to cut it. But not only you need a sharp axe to cut the wood, you need a very stable hand. If you keep on hitting at different places each time, you cannot cut it. You need to be able to stable hand or stable shoulder to hit at the same place. Then you can cut the wood easily, quickly. And so again, that sharp axe is like the wisdom that you need to cut the delusion from the very root. But the stable that you need stable hands and shoulder is the meditative concentration, karma abiding, So both are so crucial and equal to cut the root of all the afflictive emotions, So that is why as Shandeba explained, without cultivating that wisdom, there's no way to release from the samsara. And in order to develop that karma abidings, the wisdom, then one need to develop the meditative concentrations, and that is why. So of course, okay. And in terms of cultivating meditative concentrations, karma abiding shamatha, that how to develop it, you find in materials, in terms of overcoming the 5 faults by applying the 8 antidotes, and I don't think I'm going to go in that because that would be it's too much to cover. But I'm going to go through more kind of the 9 stages of the meditations to develop the karma abiding or shamatha or meditative concentrations a little bit, in terms of the object of meditations to develop shamatha, it can be external, internal objects, in terms of external objects, it can be the breath that you find that is very common in many traditions, that they use the breath as the object of concentrations, but in most of the Mahayana's teachings, in terms of even Sutra of King of Concentrations in Buddha, then Kamala Shila in his writing, Abhagavagoshas, and in all of them they mention the objects as the Buddha's image. So that is in a lot of Mahayana teachings. They actually use the Buddha's image as the object of developing meditative concentrations. And also, of course, but again, any objects, and also it can be internal objects such as the nature of the mind or the mind itself as being the object of meditative concentrations in terms of inner objects. Using the nature of your mind as the object to develop karma abiding, also that is possible. So again, the object can be anything, of the meditation to develop. There is not one object, depending on individuals. For just to develop meditative concentration or karma abiding, any objects, but of course there's a difference, between different objects, why they use different objects. I think, yeah, maybe I'm not going to go in much in that. Just to develop that, it can be any, it can be, even the flowers. You can use flower as the object of meditations, or light, anything. And by using that, one can develop meditative concentrations. There's a story of a shepherd, who looks after the animal, sheep, and so he wanted to develop meditative concentration. He asked his teachers to give the instructions, and the teacher gave him the instructions, and then give him these objects, Buddha's image, to use the Buddha's image to develop meditative concentrations. And he tried, and he found very difficult to develop by using the Buddha's image, And so then he went, his teacher and the master, and explained, and then teacher says, you use the sheep's horn as the object of your meditations. He used that, and he developed meditative concentration quite quickly. And because the sheep's horn, because in all his life he had been seeing that, because he was shepherd, so he had been seeing those. So in his mind, if he can hold it, comes that image. It comes easily, and he can hold that image very easily. And so that was why it became more easy for him in that. And so again, this is just an example. So, if the hamburgers image comes more easily, you can use the hamburgers. Chicken fry. If that image is so easy to hold on, then you can develop meditative concentration by using that image in terms of just developing meditative concentration. So anyway, maybe whatever object you use as the object of meditative concentrations, first stages of meditation is placing the mind to the object, whatever object that is, external, internal. That is the first stage, placing the mind. Placing or setting your mind towards the objects. In that first stage, when you try to place your mind, whether it's the breath, whether it's the image of the Buddha, or the nature of your mind, anything, when you try to hold your mind towards that object, when you try to place or set your mind towards that object, at the very beginning, your mind will be tend to all over, distracted. Not easy unless someone has some imprint from the past, someone who is beginning from the very beginning. And it is mentioned sometimes it feel like there's more thoughts, more concept thoughts arising than normal. But again, it's not that once you started to meditate or concentrate on or place on objects, that there is started multiplying more thought. It's a good sign because now you are being aware of them. Normally we are not aware of them. It's like, there is movement, let's say fox going every day, many times this way, and maybe you are not aware because you are so distracted with other things. And then one day you watch and pay attention and just being here, watching all the time, then you started to see, coming, going so many times. And you might see, this fox today, there is one fox coming, going, or many fox coming, going. Normally not. It's not normally not. Normally there is there, but you didn't pay attention. You're not aware of that. And so because of that, sometimes for the meditative practitioner, it might feel that the thoughts have increased because of their practice of meditation, but it's not that. Now you are being more aware of that. Before you are not aware of that. So, and it is mentioned at the very first stage, it's like, hide and seek, finding is like the mouse and cat, you find the object, you place an object and you lose it. Again, you find the object and again you lose it. Again, you find the object, So, and it's okay at the very beginning when you are meditating to lose object. It's okay. Again, you shouldn't be too harsh on ourselves because we are at the first stages. We are not in the 9 stages, 8 stages. Again, when we know what stage we are in terms of our practice, you don't become harsh on yourself because you know this practice are high level, bodhisattva practice, high level practice, and I'm here now. The problem with us is sometimes we hear and learn and hear and read and listen some of the practice of high bodhisattvas and that, and then we compare my practice with that, and you feel like I'm nowhere and I must be so bad. Do you get it? It's important. No, this is a practice which we would like to achieve, but is level where you achieve when you reach a certain point, and knowing that we are here at this point, and therefore it's okay. I'm not here. I cannot practice this one. And similarly here, is at the very beginning. It shouldn't discourage you from continuing because you keep on losing the objects. Because at the first stage, that is what happens. You lose object, again you find the object, you lose object, you find the object, and that is part of the practice, the first stage. Second stage is then as you started to improve, as you continue to meditate, it's non-continuous placement or setting. Now you are able to continue to focus on the object without losing it so often as before. Able to continue to place your mind or focus your mind for longer period. Before, you cannot focus or place your mind on the object without losing objects so easily. Now, you still lose objects, but you are able to remain without losing it for more longer durations. That is improvement. That is improvement. Mm. And if you are able to, in some commentaries, they say, if you are able to keep your mind without being distracted, without losing objects continually for a period of one mala of Om Mani Padme Hum. So again, it's difficult. What does that mean? So maybe if you are reciting very slowly, if you are reciting very quickly, then it's very short, one mala Om Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum. But maybe if you are reciting slowly, maybe. So in some other teachers, they say 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes. Maybe then, maybe we have progressed to the second stages. From the first stage to the second stage is when we're, so exactly that period is not clear, how many you find in different commentaries, slightly using different example. In some, they say one round of mala. In some, I've seen, 5 minutes, 5-10 minutes. Anyway, so that is second stages. And in second stages, still those thoughts, concept, different feeling, concept, thought arises, but not as frequent as first. In the first, they say is sometime in some scripture, they say it's like, it's like waterfall, constant. In second stages, still there is thought arising, but it is sometimes there is thought arising, sometimes it doesn't arise, sometimes there's little thought arising, and sometimes. So it's like kind of being, the thoughts are being rested now, not so active. Sometimes they are a little active, and sometimes they are not so active. Sometimes they are a little active, sometimes they're. So it's like those thoughts are kind of like the resting. And slowly, then it's like being exhausted. So then when if someone is exhausted, they're not active at all. It's there, but not active. Not so active. So that is. So the difference between the first and second, in both phases, they are disrupted or interrupted by the thoughts, and thereby lose the objects. But then in first stage, you lose objects more frequently. Second, then you lose less. You are able to focus and place your mind on that object without losing, for a certain period of time, without losing it. Third one is called continuous or replacement. Second, continuous. Third one, replace or refocus or reset the mind. And so that means even at that stages, you still get distracted and you can still lose the objects. Not so frequent as like the first stages, and not even like as much as during the second stages, but still you can still lose the objects to the distractions. But when you do lose the object of distractions, you are able to be aware more quickly through the practice of strong mindfulness. Through the practice of strong mindfulness, you are able to recognize it more quickly and then bring back your mind back to the object. So that is what resetting or replacing or refocusing means. Your mind has been distracted, and through the strong practice of mindfulness, you recognize very quickly, and then you bring back to the objects. And then again, continue to keep focus on that. So between the second and third, in third, even you can be again still continue to be disrupted. Maybe not as often like first and second, but still your mind can be disrupted by the thoughts. You can still lose, but you are able to recognize or be aware very quickly, immediately or very quickly, and so that you can bring back your mind back to the objects. And then the fourth, is close placement, near or close placement, and it is mentioned when you reach the fourth stage, through the practice of mindfulness, becoming more stronger and stronger, more and more powerful, and then kind of completing the power of the mindfulness. From the fourth stage, you do not lose the objects anymore. You do not lose the objects of your meditation anymore from the fourth stages. So in that way, you have overcome, most gross level of distractions. More gross level distraction is so gross that you lose your objects of meditations through your distractions. Now from here, you don't lose the object of your meditation by the distractions. And because your power of mindfulness is so strong, then you have to be more careful of laxity. Laxity. You have to be more careful with the gross level laxities. The two obstacles to develop karma abiding is distractions and laxity. Distractions is something that make your mind not be steady, focus. Laxity is that make your mind not having clarity with the objects, not having clarity. Sometimes your mind can be steady, but there's no clarity. To develop the karma abiding, you need to have steady as well as clarity. And not only clarity, also you need to have intensity. Sometimes you can have steady mind and also clear, but not intensity. And so therefore, and so since there is a dangers of gross laxity, so then you have to apply more stronger introspection mind. The two main tools to develop karma abiding is the mindfulness and introspection mind. Two of those are the two tools. The mindfulness mind is that keep your mind to the object, not so that you keep on your objects so that you don't lose the objects. Introspection or vigilant mind is that you try to check time to time whether your mind is still with the objects or not, whether your mind is get distracted or not, whether your mind is being under the influence of laxity or not. So that is what the introspection does. And you need that vigilant or introspection mind more strong at the very beginning. And as you get better and better, it requires less and less. you know. Mm. So that is a fourth. And the fifth is control or disciplined mind. Mm. So since, you have to pay on the fifth, pay more attention, careful towards the gross distractions, Mm. And the gross laxity, but then you don't have to pay, mm, as one of the teachers, um, Indian master says, it's very difficult to develop karma abidings, um, because if you put too much effort, you lose. Uh, mm, if you put too much effort, there's a danger of excitement, and then with that excitement, distractions. If you relax too much, then there's a danger of laxity. Maybe there's no danger of excitement and distraction, but there's a danger of laxity. Your mind becomes a little bit kind of dull and laxity and unclear. And finding the right balance, relaxing and pushing or putting effort. How much you need to relax, how much you need to put effort. And finding the right balance is the key. And finding that right balance is the most difficult. And in Buddha explained in one of the sutras, he gave example of, I don't know in English what you call, like in India, sitar. Not exactly Gita, similar like that, Yeah, guitar, sitar, So it's the Buddha give that example, If it is too loose, the sound is not so great. If it's too tight, it doesn't come sound. How much loose, how much tight, it has to be the right to have the right best sound. Same in cultivating karma abiding, meditate concentration, to have that right balance of relaxing and putting effort. So when we use, introspection mind is a way of putting effort. You are watching, so you are being more engaged, more involved. Your mind getting more engaged, more involved. When your mind gets more engaged, more involved, there's a danger of excitement and distractions. Are we clear? Yeah, when your mind is watching too much, or it starts to get engaged, whether it's falling in excitement or dullness or this or that, then there is a danger of your mind being, excited, and through that distractions and losing the stability, steadiness. On the other hand, when you don't use too much of introspection mind, and when you just try to, use the mindfulness, just keep the objects on your object without using too much of your mind, just trying to relax and just focus with relaxation, then there is again danger of falling into the other extreme, dullness. And again, not on subtle gross level, we can even see when you are meditating and when you don't use too much your mind, then slowly your mind starts to feel a little bit dull, sleepy. That could happen. But when you use your mind, then you wake up from that sleepiness or dullness, but then there is a danger of excitement. Mm. And then, so through the 5 and 6, then you develop, more stronger level of vigilant mind or the introspections. And by the 6 stages, then you complete the power of vigilant mind, the power of the vigilant mind. And by that time, then you have developed, the power of both mindfulness and vigilant mind. And when you have developed that power of vigilant and mindfulness mind, then, now, the gross dullness and the gross excitement doesn't disturb you so much. But still there is the subtle, still there is the dangers and interruption by the subtle distraction and subtle laxity. And then in the 7 stages, through by applying the perseverance, through applying or through the familiarity and through the power of the perseverance, then, you are able to overcome or subdue even the subtle level of, laxity and distractions. From here, then you don't have to be so, pay so much strong attentions or alerts all the time. The subtle laxity and distraction are still there, but it cannot harm so much. It is in scripture they give an example, an enemy that has been overpowered, that they have no power to harm you anymore back because you have made them powerless. So then you don't have to be so watchful as before. You can relax now a little bit. Do you get it? Before, there's always danger of enemy attacking you. So you have to be very so alert and constantly watchful and constantly alert and watching all the time. But once your enemy has been made it powerless and where they cannot hurt and harm you anymore, so then you don't have to pay as that much alert or intensity in that. You can start to relax because now there is no dangers of them, not only the gross but even the subtle level of laxity and distractions harming your meditations. And then the 8 stages, when you reach the 8 stages, then laxity, you have overcome the laxity and distractions. But at the very beginning of meditation, then you require little effort. Starting of the meditation practice, you require little effort, and then after that, then effortlessly you can be in state, meditations without any distractions and laxity. But it requires little effort at the very beginning of your meditation sessions. There is still effort required a little bit. The effort is not required throughout the whole sessions. It is required at the very beginning. You just have to exert put effort a little bit at the very beginning, and then you don't have to put so much effort. And the 9 stages, balance or equanimity, then from the very beginning, effortlessly you can go in the meditations, for without being you can have a great meditations without a meditation that is free from the laxity and distractions, free from them and without any effort. And that stage, the 9th, the stage, effortlessly to be able to meditate without disruption by any of the interference or distraction by the 2 obstacles, but still it's still part of the desire mind. And in order to achieve the karma abiding shamatha, you have to achieve the higher level. And then you continue to meditate. You haven't achieved karma abiding at that point, even though you can meditate without effortlessly for hours, maybe even days. You still continue to meditate, and as you continue to meditate, then slowly, it mentioned, then you develop cleansing, your mind become more flexible because of to be able to focus and place your mind to the object effortlessly without any obstacles, for a long period, so your mind become very, very flexible and light. And with that kind of flexibility, light, that cleansing, it brings, also your body started to also become more light, bodily cleansing. You develop also body cleansing. Your body also become more lighter, more flexible. And through that, when your body becomes more relaxed, more light, more lighter, more relaxed, and through that, the wind energies in the body, pervade in your rest of the other bodies, and then you start to feel, kind of bliss, physical blissfulness, mental blissfulness, And it is mentioned at the very beginning, the mental blissfulness, is something that we have never experienced before. Such a bliss. Almost there is some kind of excitement, because it is something experience that you have never felt before, that kind of bliss. And there is a little bit of excitement or a little bit of uplifting of that. After that, then, that blissful, that excitement kind of subside. And then there is more kind of